Welcome back, guys. We are here at game number 3 of T1 up against Griffin, and it has been a not slugfest, kind of wishy-washy back and forth, a bit of throwing, a bit of calm play from both sides, but it really does feel like Tarzan and Viper and the boys there on Griffin are trying their hardest to pull some games back against T1. T1 helped them in Game 1, but here in Game 2 they were able to clean it up just a bit, as Effort is going to pick up the player of the game. Was 100% kill participation at 15 minutes, and this is going to be his 4th player of the game for some of his aggressive maneuvers.
Okay, I'm back as my mic disconnected. It does this sometimes, and I have no idea why. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit weird. Yeah, I apologize for that. Well, okay, the Nexus turret obviously went down at the very end of the game, so the Blitzcrank pick, you can understand why it did end up getting selected. I am whoever it was on the Korean cast that agreed with me.
Yeah,
we were the only 2.
7 out of 9 voting for Effort, and then it was you and one guy on the Korean cast to be left unnamed. As, yeah, you guys voted for Kana. Interesting decision, but either way, Hoya is coming back out, so Untara is going back in. They say, well, we just got to do what worked in game number 3, and that was having Untara in the lineup, and so they will put him back in here, and there's actually going to be a substitution for T1, which I did not expect. Cuz is coming out, and LM is going in.
Yeah, LM now coming in here in the deciding game, and a little bit surprising to end up seeing this happen, because you have to imagine that Cuz is all warmed up after those games, and I don't even think Cuz was necessarily doing anything bad either, so always am curious of what the reasons are behind these things, or behind these swap outs.
Yeah, I mean, Cuz had a couple of decent games, but I suppose he wasn't over effective, if that's a thing. He played a couple of games of Trundle and kind of just did Trundle things, which is usually not very flashy. So, again, I don't really think that he had, you know, hard games or anything like that, so I do agree. But we are back here straight into the pick ban, as LeBlanc and Set going to be taken off the board.
Taken away right away, as T1 now have to decide on what their other ban is going to be. And I like that Griffin acknowledges that maybe T1 would just actually pick the LeBlanc here in game number 3, disregarding anything pertaining to team compositions or things of that nature. Aphelios now also gets banned away. This means that Callista is open, but they're going to prioritize the Azir.
Yeah, really not wasting any time with that. They're like, we cannot have Faker on Azir again, which is, you know, a questionable decision. I wouldn't call it, I'm not sure whether to call it bad or good. I mean, Faker had a just overly eager game in game number 1, and that was because of what Azir can do. But they do want to take that away. They want to take away Azir and LeBlanc and try to ban Faker out, which is generally not a good idea, especially when you're leaving a lot of good picks available.
Yeah. Jarvan picked up now as well. Curious if they will try to do the bread and butter combo that we've seen many, many times in the LCK thus far with the Rumble. Obviously, Azir does fare well into Rumble in the mid lane, but Griffin now locking up the Nautilus and the Varus. So now I'm wondering, what is T1 going to select? They could go Galio here, as weird as that would be. Galio was one of the Holy Trinity supports for Kalista once upon a time, and Valdez, we said it. At the end of last game, we said that T1 was going to pivot like Gen G did.
Yeah.
And they were going to go full Sin. So
sometimes, you know, they just can't help themselves. It's so enticing, you know, giving in to Sin, giving into the dark side of the Force.
I don't even want to know. Archbishop Teemo is definitely in there somewhere.
Oh boy.
I really miss Teemo. I hope Riot buffs him in some way. I would love to see Teemo in competitive. As T1, they ban a different kind of Yordle, though. They ban away the Rumble.
Yeah, Rumble's face is kind of big for a Yordle. It's very zoomed in, is what I'm thinking. I never really noticed that until this moment, but it looks bigger than even Aatrox's face, which is kind of unbelievable to me. I feel like I'm not feeling the realism here.
Maybe Rumble took a trip to America with you. Maybe Rumble, you know.
Yeah. What was it? 35.
35,000 excess calories.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did that in a week.
I ate so much for every.
That doesn't make sense, Valdez. As you know, what else doesn't totally make sense is the Aatrox and then the Ornn ban. So I'm having difficulty trying to imagine which champion would actually care about both of them. So T1 with the... Okay, it's going to be the Alistar. So not the Galio. And that actually does surprise me a little bit, because Galio, lots of synergy with the Akali, lots of synergy with the Jarvan, but then also just really good in the bot lane with the Kalista. Alistar, not a pick that we get to see all that often anymore. Definitely fell out of flavor.
Yeah, felt bad for Beryl. Beryl was the guy that used to play it all the time. Had some pop-off moments at Worlds. But, yeah, I mean, I always liked Alistar. A really big playmaking. Take a look at Lee Sin's win rate. 29.5 over 44 games. This is not a small sample size.
No, it's absolutely not a small sample size, and he's been disappearing in popularity over the last couple of weeks, and I remember at the very beginning of the split losing my mind over Elise and Lee Sin picks, and Gangplank is such a beautiful pick here.
You like that pivot?
That's really
the kind of
like
that you like.
the Gangplank into the Maokai. This is a lane that Maokai, for the most part, should not be able to play or have any fun with. And the Lee Sin in the jungle, it's just so off-theme with the Maokai, with the Azir. It doesn't make any sense. If you look over at T1, ask yourself, who is a real kick target on the side of T1? And there's not really any. So it's going to be really hard for Tarzan to pilot the early and mid-game, especially. Obviously does have some gank set up with Untara up there in top lane, twisting advance with Safeguard on Lee Sin to get on top of the Gangplank, but Azir is going to be fine as a standalone against the Akali, and that puts a lot of pressure on LM. Teddy and Effort down in bottom lane should be able to fare well on their own, but I'm looking forward to this game. It's not full-on Sin by T1. They also get bailed out by the B4, B5 of Griffin being a... I don't even know. I don't even want to call it a punt. It's just a kickoff back to T1. Things are looking rough for them.
Yeah, and I think they're just going to have to... I mean, as you mentioned, Lee Sin is just really off theme. Like, if they had something, I don't know, like a Sejuani, something that can engage something a bit beefy to create room for Azir Varus, but maybe they felt like they already had enough beefcakes on their lineup. They already have Nautilus and Maokai. I don't know. Just trying to think about, you know, why they would have gone for that pick. Maybe Tarzan can pull off an epic early game, which we have seen before here in the LCK, as we are going to hop straight onto the Rift here. As, is that lethal tempo? Lethal Tempo Akali for Faker.
All right. I don't know if that's actually a rune error or if it is intentional. And maybe he's taking this because he values his auto attacks and melee range against the Lee Sin and the Maokai. He thinks that maybe he is able to get off a lot of value. But no Conqueror, no Fleet Footwork. Those are two of the very standard runes on
And they're in the same tree.
And they're in the same tree, so...
Feels like a mistake, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't really know... you know, you get into melee range, yeah, you can get a bunch of auto attacks off in quick succession, but it just doesn't seem to have as much value. But as we were talking about, guys, in terms of Lee Sin's win rate, he is currently on an 8-game losing streak, and we do get to highlight the players that have lost on him. Thank you, Riot, for that. As Tarzan has apparently lost 4 games on Lee Sin in a row.
Alright, well, at this point, you can see Akali, Lethal Tempo. Triumph is going to be her setup, so nothing super unusual outside of the initial rune that she is taking. As now we're going to take a look at all of the runes, actually. No Sin is really going to be present. One of the things that does surprise me a little bit is the Maokai has Demolish. You're never likely to be on Gangplank's turret, but we will see what ends up happening. Kana already actually playing a little bit bizarre. I know that we're looking down at bot lane, but I'm following them up in top lane on the minimap, and this is definitely not a normal lane state for Gangplank. He's able to cheat a recall almost 100% of the time against Maokai, and Kana not even electing for it, and there's just no reason not to on Gangplank because it gives him all of the setup that he wants. But you can see that he started with Sapphire Crystal, so I think that he wants to just play very safe early on and try to keep the lane on his side and then recall into Sheen, but you're able to achieve the same thing by opening with Corruption, Cheater recalling, pulling wave 4, wave 5, and then freezing. And it lines up very well. It also makes you gank immune. Now, maybe one of the only reasons that he isn't anticipating this is because if Tarzan would do something like a 2-camp gank into top, hold that thought, as... No, never mind.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Well, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Totally fine.
Yeah,
not a lot happened.
I
0-7.
a little bit at the 0 and 7. Man, that's gotta feel bad for Tarzan. I don't know how much the pro players pay attention to their stats, but he's trying to change. Really trying to change the story now as they're going for a big dive in the bottom side. TP immediately comes in as a big knockup now on top of both of them in the bottom side. Irobe will be going down. The flash forward by Teddy, maybe a little bit too rambunctious there, as they get the kill with the TP. The dive fails, and there you have it.
Yeah, that is exactly what is going on right now. T1 now ahead down in the bot side. So the thing that is so confusing about this is that the early game jungle starts. Tarzan, we'll take a look at this one more time. So Tarzan and Yukal coming down here into bot lane, but they obviously do not respect the teleport out of the Akali. And they just get a kill completely for free onto Irobe. Teddy does end up flashing. Faker comes in with the Shuriken, not able to follow up whatsoever. And outside of that, not really too much is going on, but it alleviates a lot of pressure down in bot lane. And Akali is also just having a really easy time in mid, which is a little surprising. Obviously, Yukal has a small CS advantage currently.
I was trying to really think about the way the trades would go between the two of them in the lane and see if the lethal tempo actually could make sense. You open up with the Q and that procs the lethal tempo, And the amount of time it takes to have the lethal tempo drop, you know, and actually go off is about the amount of time it takes for Akali to get in there and start autoing again. So maybe you'd be able to slip in, you know, like an extra auto, maybe 2 at max. I just don't know if that value is worth it compared to what Conqueror gives you or what Fleet Footwork can give you in terms of mobility and sustain. I don't know. I'm not sold on this one.
Perhaps if he wins and also earns himself a Player of the Game performance, maybe the Korean casters can ask him about the lethal tempo. As Kana getting the flash out of the Maokai.
And Tara literally just like ran at him.
Yeah,
he was like shocked Pikachu when he realized that he had to flash eventually. Like, I don't know what you expected.
And Cloud Dragon is the first one of the game. Now, interestingly enough, there is a champion in the game that doesn't mind having it, which is the Gangplank. Having his ultimate up and available a little bit sooner, especially given its initial long cooldown, is something that wouldn't mind all that much. Again, though, Dragon is a bit lackluster. As the game does continue to go on, it will worse. There we go.
Look at that engage out of this guy. He still has his flash as well. The double knockup comes in from LM as well. And now they're all on the run. The Cataclysm going to come in. So many flashes already burned. As now here comes Faker. Lethal tempo gonna drop. He's got those autos going. Literally just one auto. But at the end of the day, it is going to be the 4 kills for T1 in the trade.
Well, it's going to be the 4 kills going over to T1. Faker now at 2 kills. Teddy is absolutely massive. 100% KP right now down in bot lane. LM on this Jarvan also having a really good showing here as T1 now. Kana, I mean, he's sitting pretty up there in top lane. He has the call. He has 3 assists on him right now. They're going to pick up the Cloud Dragon. LM might not actually even do the Scuttle Crab. As you can see, finishes the drop on the right-hand side. Gangplank ultimate came out. Effort was a really good engage. Teddy did have to flash back over the wall. Viper obviously not keen to follow. Cataclysm came out, locking up Iroh, who did not have his flash available from before. Baker going forward with Effort, and it was just a really nice combo and an overall clean collapse by T1, punishing Griffins. I don't even know why Griffin were where they were, Valdez, because you consider what is valuable around that location. It's certainly not anything that is important pertaining to the Cloud Dragon, and T1 just really quick to collapse, and they set themselves up with a massive lead in the early game. They're up 3,000 gold in 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I think it comes back to the Lee Sin, you know, the question of why this pick that loves to get aggressive. He's one of the best early game junglers, but alongside of an Azir that has no items, and, you know, a Varus that's looking to scale. What exactly are you looking to achieve by being this aggressive in the early game? And it just makes me feel once again that another jungle pick would have been a lot better. And maybe this is part of the reason why Tarzan has struggled so much on the Lee Sin. It feels like they're really trying to force it. Maybe he feels really comfortable with the mechanics, but it's not winning them any games. That's for sure. And yeah, I also feel like Effort is gearing up for another potential player of the game performance. A couple of great engages. The one on the bottom side under the turret was kind of given to him, but that second one was a great setup. The way he was able to make that happen without even using his flash. He used his flash later on in the fight to secure the kill underneath the turret for Faker. He's kind of like the main tank, and he's got his damage dealers behind him that get all the kills, but he's actually the one setting everything up.
Yeah. As right now, I mean, Effort just rotated over to the left-hand side. They pick up the Rift Herald. And now they're in mid lane. Teddy and Effort just, I guess, staying in mid as they lane swapped with Faker temporarily. Unsure if they're actually going to go back down into bottom, as it looks like they're rotating to try to follow UCal and then maybe just dive him. He does have the exhaust available, but he's not going to be long for this world if he does end up stepping up. And I don't even know... Alright, he does not seem to...
Oh boy. Well, there's going to be the Cannon Barrage, as well as the Fate's Call. Exhaust, my good friend, will do absolutely nothing to save you there. You were already dead. And down he does go. Teddy able to join up here with Faker, taking down the turret, as T1 just stack their piles of cash.
They continue to get further and further ahead. 4,000 gold at 11 minutes. Infernal Dragon coming up in a minute and a half. Faker getting insane value down in bot lane. Lots of solo XP and gold. Following the lane swap. Looks like he might even get first turret of the game. Top lane has quite literally just been an island, where Gangplank just keeps pressing R, getting assists, farming up his call. And the reason that Khan is backing off right now is because they don't have any awareness of exactly where Lee Sin is. So, respecting the fact that he could end up getting dived, so he gives up a minion wave. He knows it's not the end of the world if he ends up missing it. Meanwhile, Faker down in bot lane did get the first turret of the game. Is level 9. Yucal is still level 8. Kana finally going to make his way up into top. Not sure if Tuntara is going to get one more turret plate. I think he did. Although I didn't see the gold go above his head.
Was he somehow out of range?
So I believe that the range on the turret gold, I think it's 2,000, 2,500 if you interacted with it. And outside of that, I think it's 800.
몇 개?
So,
미드 가야 돼, 미드 가야 형. 야, 이뻐 너. 석인할 거야. 노플.
he says
몇
he's
개
gonna
가나, 몇 개?
flash.
잡았어.
We got him.
천천히 봐. 잡았어.
Goes
리신
slow.
온다. 슬슬 온다.
잡았어. 오른쪽으로 빼, 오른쪽으로
Saying
빼.
that the other Griffins
나이스.
are coming,
여기 리신.
미드 커버해줘. 본대 미드 가야 돼.
and then saying to go mid after that. How you doing, Valdez?
Yeah, I'm doing well. That they're very talkative. That's one thing I always like about T1 when I listen to their comms. Communicating pretty much everything in detail about what's going on. Although he did mention about 8 times that he caught him. I think they already did know that at that point. But yeah, Effort should be pretty happy with his performance. Seems to be pretty excited with the way that the game is going so far. They have a 2-0 Akali with an early Gunblade. They have a 3-0-3 Kalista with the early Borg, and more to come, no doubt. They pick up the first 2 Drakes, and Mountain Soul is going to be the one that gets picked up here. So it's not huge value for their team. I suppose the Alistar will be tanky, but he was going to be tanky anyway. Not going to be too many resists that are built up with this lineup, but just taking those Drakes away still going to have value.
Well, Mountain Soul is a I mean, it's not Ocean Valdez, but it will do. As obviously,
Cloud.
Yeah, Gangplank won't get really many resistances at all this game. I can't imagine Akali won't do it either. Kalista, I mean, so it's mostly going to be the tank Jarvan and the Alistar that are going to get the most benefit from it, but it will help Akali dive into the backline line and just be a little bit more durable. And with that lethal tempo, I guess, sticking around to stay on top of the opponent and keep autoing them gets a little bit more value there.
What do you think the chances are that Faker earns a bunch of votes just so that we can talk to him?
Well, I think that we have to shill for...
Effort, okay, he deserves the player of the game, but who's going to get the player of the game is the real question that I would like to ask. As, I don't know, it feels like Griffin have just kind of disappeared from the map. Like, where did they go? We saw the Maokai in the bottom side. Everybody's kind of going back. Azir is down the lane. As now everything is just being taken away from them. The whole jungle. They have vision of their red side jungle at least, but that's about it in terms of what they own on this map right now.
Yeah, I mean, top lane hasn't been able to do anything. Even when Maokai will start showing up, nothing is really going to occur. This is really akin into game number 1 and game number 2 to where now the game has entered a lull state, 5,000 gold lead, or almost 6,000 gold lead here, 4T1 at 15.5 minutes, and everyone's very eager to play ping pong.
I mean, it's their favorite sport.
Valdez, you need to cut it out.
They love it. They use their paddles. They hit the ping pong ball back and forth. Here, see, it's coming to him right now. He's going to hit it back. It was a good return. Good job, Faber.
And T1 now. He's getting the Rift Herald right now, as that will potentially be open, or able to crack open the base. 2 minutes remaining on the Mountain Dragon, but we're still ways away from the Mountain Soul from being able to come up. Oblivion Orb picked up on the Akali. Not too much really going on here. They'll probably allocate the Rift Herald into mid lane just to crack it, as it's still so healthy. Azir's turret never really gets hit unless Azir dies multiple times during like laning phases, and the enemy mid laner is also really good at pushing. So at the end of it all, we're locked into this stalemate where nothing is really happening. And yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta sit back and soak it in, you know? Just let the rays of the sunshine of the ping pong shine on your life. I think you need a little bit of that, LS.
I think players need to pause and ask themselves, what way can we get advantages here? No? Okay.
No.
All right. Imagine if they froze.
I thought you gave up hope on it.
I did, you can't ever really fully give up hope, because when you do that, that's when it's over.
Okay,
that's
Teddy,
when
you're in a little bit of trouble. Never mind. Exhaust had to go down onto Faker, though. I'm not sure exactly why. He didn't use ultimate or flash or much of anything. Did a bit of damage.
Well, Rift Herald does go off in mid lane. It is going to get a second charge onto the mid-tier 2 turret as they make their way over to the Mountain Dragon. LM just going to solo that up really quick, as it seems like T1 are completely content to just wait for more items, wait for the map state to just be super favorable, or for Griffin to just eventually donk it off.
Wait for the map state to be super flavorful.
Favorable.
What flavor do you think a Mountain Soul Rift is?
Coffee. Yeah, I thought of that one pretty quick.
Perfect.
Thanks.
You know, so this is going to be an easy question. What is my favorite flavor of ice cream?
Coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, we were on topic, so I thought I'd just throw it out there.
You have definitely a bit of a sweet tooth. I think that Cloud Soul would probably just be basic vanilla.
Yeah.
Which is sort of how it feels when you get it. It feels like, what is this, right?
It's like, yeah, I mean, there's some sugar in there, but
Exactly.
There's not much flavor, you know? It doesn't change much about my life.
I think Ocean
no feeling.
Would be pistachio.
Pistachio? What about mint? Like mint?
Ooh, mint chocolate chip.
Yeah, like mint chocolate chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Baker did talk about that recently on his stream.
He did?
Yeah, to
mint
people
chocolate
who
chip?
like. Yeah, actually, I think so. When trying to discuss the flash on GRF.
How does that relate to mint chocolate chip? What?
He said that some people basically have preferences, I believe. I can't remember the quote verbatim.
People have preferences and opinions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fate Skull used here. Kind of an awkward spot.
What would Infernal be?
Yeah, see, that's...
That one is the tough one. I'm trying to...
It's not
I guess
strawberry.
It could be...
Right?
It could be... What about... Is it sherbet?
sherbet? Yeah, I suppose it could be like raspberry sherbet or something.
Yeah.
Tara's gonna die here. It doesn't look like anyone on his team is looking to help him, as Ellen is going to be able to get out there at the end. And yeah, that was our bit of action, you know, just to spice up the podcast. So, yeah, I don't know. Sherbet or... I don't know if there is
I can't think
kind of red colored ice cream.
I guess apple, like apple cherry. Oh,
yeah.
cherry.
Cherry. Okay,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
There we
cherry.
go. Yeah.
There we go. Thank
Cherry's
you.
obvious. Okay, I don't know why we didn't think of that.
We're in a complete lull state right now, and I feel like the only people I don't even know. There's nothing to discuss on a strategical level because nothing is happening strategically. Everyone's on autopilot. Everyone's just pushing wave. Nothing is attempting to be done by either team proactively. And so we're just sort of waiting for things to happen. I mean, you have this trade happen down in bot lane, Maokai, extremely tanky, but Cataclysm comes in, twisting advance, and this is honestly looking like a perfect game, Valdez.
They're gonna kill him again.
It's been a while since we've had one.
What happened to no bully? I thought. Is he? No, he's not. Yeah. Well, they're bullying him pretty hard, and now Kana in a little bit of trouble. He's gonna get exhausted. Flashes over the wall. There's a little bit of a game of chicken there. Tarzan really not able to do much, honestly. He still has his kick flash available, and he is going to go for it now, trying to line up the damage. Does he have it? Yes, he does. Tarzan will survive in the end. The kind of barrage not able to help him out, but that took 2 people just to kill him up there. And that means that they will be able to push in the mid turret.
Gold lead has been extended to 9,000 gold, and this is obviously a byproduct of just the ping-ponging of the waves. Because of the position T1's in, they do occasionally get jungle camps up as well as scuttle crabs over Griffin. So if you do this long enough over several minutes, you will end up amassing XP lead, or well, depending on how you get to the minion waves. If you take a look at the replay, Untara just too far forward again. T1 has control over the right-hand side jungle, and this is why, if you're Griffin, why are you ping-ponging waves happily if it then causes you to immediately move out? Kana up in top lane, using the Gangplank ultimate, not able to trade away a kill inside of the replay, so ruins the perfect game, but it's not the end of the world. Mountain Soul coming up now in 10 seconds.
Yep, it is going to be Soul Point here in favor of T1, but they're not grouping up for it right now. TPs are coming in. The teleport from Kana. Take a look at Effort's positioning right now. We get the zoom out. Thanks, Jonah Strong. Effort in a awkward spot. His team isn't backing him up. Finally, they're going to come on in here. He's taking a lot of damage, but he is the Alistair. He's actually going to get away with basically no health. There is the Emperor's Divide. Certainly going to try to help defend against this onslaught from the side of T1, but it's not going to do too much, as a 2-for-1 will come here in favor of T1.
And that's going to result in them getting the Mountain Soul, I believe. They have the Callista Wren, so it's not even like they need to be worried about if Tarzan is somewhere in close proximity. Teddy should be able to outsmite it. You can see Effort posturing in a manner that would allow him to maybe try to interact with the Lee Sin if he saw a Q come over the wall or something of that nature. But take a look at this. Effort, it really did look like he was behind enemy lines as he headbutts the Maokai back into T1, manages to get out on the right-hand side, flashes away at the last second, and lives with 1 auto attack worth of HP. Faker doesn't land the shuriken, doesn't really matter, ends up picking up yet another kill. They turn their attention over to the dragon. They picked that up for themselves as well.
Just calculated. Hashtag calculated from Effort. He has been so on point, especially in games 2 and 3. Even in game 1, I think he had a pretty good game. And Yeah, he's certainly getting my vote at this point. 1-0-8. Was able to get out of there. And now with that Mountain Soul, I really don't know what Griffin are going to do here. There's so many resistances on the 2 tanks that you did mention. They have that barrier that comes up here if you don't take damage for 5 seconds, which is pretty ridiculous when you think about it. And yeah, they're just going to go for the Baron, and I don't see why not. We talked about this before with Callista Azir. They don't have Callista Azir this time, but they do have Callista. And they say, okay, we'll just back away, as Faker was trying to pressure in the lane at the same time.
And T1 starting up. There's so many Ren stacks in that Baron right now. I really wish we could see how many. They're going to actually just turn.
Yeah, they're just going for the play here. I'm not sure if they exactly had to. It seems like they didn't want to get funneled into the pit. They wanted to be proactive about how they engage. But this does mean the Ren stacks are going to fall, and it will mean that T1 has to back away from this objective. Although they're not going to give up on it entirely just yet.
Faker in mid, just shoving that wave in. It is going to draw Viper back into mid lane. Tarzan in close proximity, but don't imagine a world where he should be able to steal this away. Again,
Ren stacks.
All of those Ren stacks in the Baron right now. I think they're going to turn off it again.
Yeah, they're just going for it. Big Cataclysm into the back line, and huge damage on the follow-up coming out from Teddy, and Faker able to just wipe the floor with them. Thought it would be the Emperor's Divide that did it, but actually the real sweeper was just the damage coming out of T1. 15-2, there's the ace clean as a whistle, as now they're going to push down top lane and try to end this one.
Yeah, and so they have the minion wave up in top, 18 seconds on Tarzan, 5 seconds on Irove right now, so there's no chance. I thought that at least they would get the top inhibitor before falling back. Faker obviously down at the bottom lane. It's a little surprising. So what they're wanting to do is immediately go over to the river and try to burst this before Lee Sin would just be able to run over, whereas if they spend time getting the inhibitor, they would have to reset first. So they're prioritizing getting the Baron and then resetting, rather than resetting, doing the Baron, and doing the same fork play that they just did moments prior, where they start the Baron, demand Griffin come in, and then they can take another team fight. So, bit of a difference in approach, as they turn off the Baron yet again, and really surprised that UCal wasn't more forward with the Emperor's Divide to try to act as a blockade, but Faker and friends just going super in onto Griffin right there, as you can see the pings down onto the bottom lane by Faker. So they managed to open up both of the inhibitors in top and bottom. So mid-tier 3 turret, only one still remaining. 1.5 minutes until the Elder Dragon coming up.
Yeah, and with Baron for 2 minutes and 10 seconds, they should be able to roll it into another objective, you would have to imagine. We'll see exactly what they're going to get before that does happen. There's still a minute and 20 seconds. They have the Baron. They're looking to push down mid and bot, it looks like. Tarzan looking for a potential play there onto Faker. Not going to line up. There's a very open inhibitor going to come on down here. Baroned up minions, as, yeah, Effort's going to be hit by the Chain of Corruption, but that's not going to do too much. Viper getting hit by the barrel is going to do a lot more. He's going to have to back out of this fight. Effort looking for the engage, and they're just going to go for it, as Gangplank going to open it up, gets the 2 kills. UCal just trying to get him into the pit, and he is actually going to be able to. Faker, though, with a double kill on the fountain, will be going down in the end, but it does not matter. Teddy looking for that one last kill. Not quite going to grab it here, but T1 absolutely going to grab this series in the 2-1 victory over Griffin, as hitting that Nexus, but they'll wait for Nitara. We know these players. They're going to pick up the kill, and now they will take down the Nexus.
So that is going to be the final endgame score, 4-20 in favor of T1. Not quite the perfect game, but it didn't matter. It was was a perfect execution of a game number 3, as the top side was completely an island. Bot got busted open so early on. The initial proactive play that Griffin tried to make didn't account for the teleport. That ended up happening. Teddy in bot lane just getting an early lead early on. Effort with a phenomenal engage at the ramp leading into blue buff. They managed to snowball so far ahead from there, and top was just a non-factor for basically the entirety of that game. So definitely very interesting. T1, a 2-1 victory over Griffin. Not what most people were probably expecting, a 3-game series between these two, but T1 will take it nonetheless.
Yeah, I think a lot of people watching this series would say that this should have been a 2-0. T1 perhaps just stumbling a little bit due to their own hubris, I would have to say. It just felt like they were way too overconfident and underestimated Griffin in game number 1. Came back to bite them. At least they did win the series in the end of the day. And we are going to take a look here at some of the highlights. You'll see that, yeah, just kind of lining them up down on the bottom side. They did not factor in the TP. And the Alistar actually got so much value in this game.
Yeah, he got insane amounts of value. And it was really surprising to see him picked. We don't get to see Alistar all that often anymore. Ended up being paired with the Callista. And this is where they just dogged down the remaining members, as top lane was still just an island. Up there, as you can see, Gangplank and Maokai on the minimap, sort of just wet noodle fight. Effort again, finding his way onto UCal. UCal not able to stop the engage by the Alistar here. They did use the Gangplank ultimate for this. And the way that it currently stands, Griffin, they managed to win game number 1. They did it in a manner that probably doesn't feel that good, but they were willing to take it. In game number 2, they fell really far behind. Nothing ever really got brought back to a safety point. And then in game number 3, it was just lights out. So their problems all still continuing to persist. And as the season continues to draw on, I think questions still remain. What is Griffin going to do? And are they really going to potentially get relegated?
Yeah, I think at this point, that is a harsh reality that is facing them. And just statistically, I think they're even 2 games behind the 9th place team. It's either 2 or it's 1 or 2 games. Either way, they're pretty far behind. And it's a really rough spot for them. Nothing seems to be working. I think it has to be said that Tarzan, I think you have to shield this Lee Sin. This game looked kind of sad for the Lee Sin. I mean, it really wasn't able to do anything after it failed the dive early on. It was just a total non-factor. And yeah, just at the end of it all, it was the result we expected with T1 winning, at least in the end.
The thing about champions like Elise and Lee Sin, and we even saw it earlier on tonight when Elise comes out, we've seen it in other series, they require opponents to make mistakes. Or they require you to severely outplay your opponent, where if you're confident in your own ability as a player or as a team, you don't need to rely on variance. And in fact, you would want to diminish it as much as possible. So Lee Sin wasn't able to find anything in this game, and if the laners aren't trying to do him a service by manipulating the lane state to be favorable for games, then nothing's going to happen there either.
And yeah, that's all that Lee Sin was doing. He was kind of just running around in the jungle, farming up, but really not able to help his team out too much, as the final graphs all tell the story of the way that did go. But no doubt we'll be getting that individual interview, actually, with Effort, as he did pick up 2 player of the games here. I actually just assumed that he had picked up game number 3. I forgot that we didn't even see it. It was just such a absolute surety in my mind. But yeah, he is going to be the player of the game here for game number 3.
Oh,
he was just so clean.
Yeah, I felt like he really earned it. A lot of the fights that did end up breaking out were initiated by him, and just setting everything up really for success. I think that another close candidate here would have been Ellum. I think that would have been my second vote if there were something like that, as even this, the headbutt to knock the Maokai into the team. There is a universe where Effort obviously dies, setting all of this up, but manages to live.
Imagine
and Faker,
going 1-0 and 18.
we're not going to get to hear about the lethal tempo.
Yeah, maybe they can ask Effort, especially because he's going to be the only one there. They might run out of questions that are not like, wow, how are you so good at Alistair? So maybe they could ask, you know, just a simple one, was that a mistake? I think that's a fair question for a teammate. But yeah, 9 out of 9 votes for Effort. Everybody on the same page here, as he's just really gone up a lot as we have him here for the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Susan with the interview translation, and we'll be having a solo POG interview from Effort from T1 taking down Griffin. T1 still undefeated in round 2. How do you feel right now?
오늘 이렇게 연승도 이어갈 수 있고
Yeah, we are keeping our win streak and we are undefeated so far, and I got this MVP, so it feels really nice. And flexing all the trophies behind you. So today, a lot of people actually expected 2-0 win. However, Griffin put up a really good fight. What kind of feedback did you guys have after game number 1?
일단 플레이적으로 실수가 나왔다고 생각해서
We had a lot of performance mistakes,
실수한 부분 다 피드백하고
so
다음
we kind of ran through those
또 열심히
mistakes. And we
하자고
just
피드백했던 것 같아요.
tried to kind of cheer up for the next game and do our best. What kind of feedback? Can you be more specific a little bit?
저희가 바론 먹고 좀
After we got
빠르게
the Baron,
굴렸어야
we
되는데
had to snowball
그러지 못한
faster,
부분이 제일
but we could
컸던 것
not.
같아요.
So that was one of the crucial mistakes that we made. And then you played Blitzcrank, 3-0 so far. What kind of champion is Blitzcrank for you?
그냥 전 상황마다
Well,
최선의 픽을 하기 때문에
I mean,
그냥
we always
그
try to
상황에서
find the
블리츠가 제일
best
좋아서
pick in
뽑았던 것
every
같아요.
situation.
나는 챔피언 폭이 넓다. 이렇게 볼 수
Which
있는
also
거죠.
means
그렇죠.
Effort has a
잘한다.
very
네.
wide champion
결과적으로는
pool.
이제 승리로 마무리 지었고 또
So
이제
T1 ended up getting a win.
계속
However,
끌어오는 장면이 전 좀 인상적이었거든요.
in game number 2,
그걸
you
이제
were
노린
keep
건지
landing your
아니면
hook on
어쨌든
Tomkins.
어떤
Was that
챔피언이 됐든
intended or
내가 앞점을 서서라도
calculated?
과감하게 누군가를 당겨오면
Sometimes you
무조건
even,
좋은
like,
전투구도가 나올 것이라고 생각한
used your
건지 좀
flash.
궁금합니다.
Was that for opening a
일단
fight?
구도상으로 보면은 탕켄치가
Well,
제일
regarding
앞에
the
있기도
matchup,
했고,
Tomkins
켄치
was
끌어서
on the
그냥
very
녹일 수도
front
있다고
line,
생각해서
so we
계속
also thought
탕켄치
that
끌었던
we
것
can
같아요.
just melt him down.
확실히 서포 선수들이 말씀들을 참 잘해요.
네.
And the support players, they are also good at
네.
자,
interviews.
그리고
그리고
So it's a pleasure to have
3세트.
effort for
지금
today's
정말 많은
interview.
분들이 아마
And
궁금해하실
let's
것
talk
같아요.
about the
네.
game number 3.
치명적 속도 악화 이거
Little
어떻게 된 거죠?
Tempo Akali. What happened?
그거는
That
실수였고요. 네.
was a mistake
네, 네. 좀 뱀픽 과정에서 좀
during the
약간,
draft.
네, 뭐 렉도 좀 있었고
We
게임하면서
were having a bit of a lag, so Faker did not have enough time to check his rune.
그런데도 이겼어요.
네, 그렇죠. 그게
But
중요하죠.
still, SKT or T1 walking away with a win.
그런 실수가 있었을 때
So it doesn't really happen often, but how does he react to those situations?
일단 뭐 이미 시작한 건
I
어쩔 수
mean,
없는 거라서
the game has
그냥
started already
네.
anyways.
이미 들었지만 뭐
So
잘
he
해봐,
took that
해보자고
rune, but he
다
said
같이
like,
했던
let's
것 같아요.
all do our best.
선이네요. 그렇죠.
네.
그러면 팀에서 그 부여하는 오늘의 벨트는 누가
Then who won the
선정되었나요?
champion belt, the
MVP.
그러게요.
T1
궁금하네요.
self MVP vote?
저희 아직 안 정했고요.
We
이제,
haven't voted
네,
yet.
인터뷰 끝나고 정할 것
We
같아요.
will decide
아,
after this interview.
네, 네.
이건 POG도 영향이 있을 것 같습니다. 그리고 페이커가 2013년에 데뷔를 해서
And
지금
Faker
오늘
debuted
그
in
LCK 최다
2013,
출전
and
기록을 세우고
he
있거든요. 그
is
부분에서 뭐 팀 내나
the player
아니면
with the
페이커
most
본인의
games
동료들 간에서
played
어떤
in
뭐 언급된 내용들이
LCK.
있습니까? 정말 대단한 기록인데.
That's like a milestone as a pro player.
사회경도 그렇고 딱히 그런 기록 같은 거에
I mean,
연연하진 않아서 딱히
all the
얘기는
5
해본 적
players
없는
are
것
not
같아요.
like paying too much attention
그럼
about the
저희가 다
records,
준비하겠습니다.
including
네.
Faker,
저희가
so we haven't really mentioned it.
저희가 해야 할 일이죠.
네.
1승 1승이 중요하고 한 경기 한 경기가 더 중요하다 보니까
그쵸.
저게 좀 더 집중한다라는
Yeah, I
얘기인 것
mean,
같죠.
definitely
네.
for the
진행 중에
players,
있는
every
기록이니까.
match,
맞습니다.
getting a win in every
지금까지
match
갈수 있는
is
거니까요.
what
자,
actually
이렇게 되면
matters. So
다시 한번
totally
감독,
understandable.
POG 축하드리겠고요.
So once again, congratulations on your
젠지도
solo
오늘 승리 거두면서
POG.
앞으로도 계속
match
승리 싸움을
today.
할 텐데 앞으로 팀원
So,
어떤 경기
lastly,
팬들께 보여주고 싶습니까? 끝으로 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
How are you gonna perform and wrap
계속해서
up
기분
the
좋게
remaining
연승
of the
달리고 있는데
series?
1세트 계속 패배하면서
Yeah, we are having
조금
a
불안한 모습도 보이고
Very
있거든요.
good
그래서
run right here,
다음
right
경기 때는
here,
약간
undefeated.
2대0으로 이기는
However,
모습
at the same
보여드리고
time, we
싶고요.
are keep dropping the game number 1. So
그렇습니다.
we
알겠습니다.
want to get a
그럼
2-2
다음
win
경기
next
계속해서 좋은
time.
모습
We will
보여주기를 기대하면서
do our best.
오늘
Thank you.
POG 단독 POG
So
거듭
this will be the
축하드립니다.
end of the interview with
축하드립니다.
efforts
감사합니다.
from
감사합니다.
T1, and I'm
감사합니다.
gonna pass it back to our
그러니까
casters.
1세트를
Thank
이렇게
you.
지고서 물론 또 피드백이 되긴 합니다만 그룹
Thank you, G-Sun, for the wonderful translation, as always. Good to hear about exactly what was going on in Game 3 with the runes and all of everything that effort was feeling. As, yeah, that series went a bit longer than we were expecting. I thought we were just going to get a couple of claps, a couple of 2-0s in a row, but Griffin and T1, it does stand to say, made it pretty interesting to bring us to a game number 3. As up next, of course, guys, we are going to have Afrika up against Dom1 with a little bit longer of a break in between. It will be about 30 minutes. But first, a look at the standings.
Well, we see here in the standings that T1 still behind on points from Gen G. They are on a 5-game winning streak, though, so really turning up the heat here in round 2. Griffin, they fall to minus 16. They are on a 10-game loss streak so far this split. And later on tonight, like you just mentioned, Dom1 versus Afrika. This is a really key match for both of these teams because it can cause them to flip sides. So this is truly a battle between the West and the East, left hand versus right hand. And Dom1, they might actually just be heavy favorites actually coming into this match. Afrika look totally lost lately. Dom1 used to look lost, but we'll see what the match has in store for us. Dom1's going to be on the red side in that. I think that's going to be an important part of the match because the draft is going to be super important between these two teams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I would also favor Dom1 coming into this one. Just the way the momentum has been going for these two teams. Dom1 are on the up and up. Afrika, still a lot to figure out. But, guys, we are going to have a 30-minute break. And when we come back, we will have Afrika up against Dom1.